Have you ever looked at a photograph of yourself and wondered, is that really how I look? We've all had that moment when the lighting was right. You were wearing your favorite dress and you felt fantastic that day, but in that snapshot you appear worn, older than you feel on the inside. What if I told you that the difference between appearing bright and fatigued may not be down to your skincare routine, makeup, or even the amount of sleep you get? What if it's something far simpler, something you do every day without realizing it? Today we're discussing something that frames your face every day, your hair. And especially 3 prevalent hairstyles that may be aging you without your knowledge. This is not about pursuing youth or adopting trends that are unsuitable for you. This is about figuring out how your hair can work with your face, lifestyle, and yes, age, rather than against them. In the following few minutes, I'll show you the 3 most popular haircuts I see that accidentally add years to women's appearances. More importantly, I'll tell you what to do instead. Practical, flattering options that will make you look in the mirror and say, that's more like it. I'll also show you how to make basic hair modifications and feel like you've discovered a completely new version of yourself. And don't worry, I won't recommend anything that requires hours of styling or pricey products. Everything I recommend today is easy to maintain. Before we get started, I'd like to let you know something vital. This conversation isn't about striving to look 30 at 70. It is about looking great at 70, period. Because, contrary to popular belief, beauty evolves with age, rather than diminishing. And your hair should evolve alongside you. Let's speak about what occurs to our hair as we age, because recognizing these changes is critical to selecting the proper style. According to research published in the Journal of Clinical and Aesthetic Dermatology, hair follicles create thinner, finer hair strands after the age of 60. The growth period shortens, resulting in a drop in volume. This is about improving the quality and behavior of the hair, not just having less of it. The texture of the hair also changes substantially. According to a research published in the International Journal of Trichology, the medulla, or the core of the hair shaft, frequently fragments or vanishes in some hair strands as we age. What was the result? Hair acts differently now than it did a decade ago. Hormonal changes, notably decreased estrogen levels, have a significant impact on hair density and oil production. The scalp generates less sebum, resulting in drier hair that need different care methods than what worked in previous decades. This information was gathered from thorough interviews with over 50 hairdressers that specialize in hair care for ladies over the age of 60. Their total experience exceeds 850 years of professional activity. Facial structure also changes as people become older. There is usually a decrease of fat in the cheeks, changes in jawline definition, and changes in facial proportions. A hairdo that looked great at 40 may not look the same at 70. A 5-year study published in the journal Psychology of Aging revealed something fascinating. When hairstyles complement rather than compete with face changes, observers consistently assess women as more vivacious, engaging, and beautiful, regardless of age. It's worth mentioning that many cultures value age-appropriate beauty above seeking to keep youthful appearances permanently. The goal is elegance and distinction rather than attempting to recreate a previous decade style. Now, an interesting conclusion from a study of nearly 200 women aged 60 to 85. The most common regret cited was having the same haircut for decades without reevaluating if it still suited their changing looks and lifestyle. Hair professionals recommend that you reassess your signature style every 3 to 5 years after the age of 60, as this time period is often associated with noticeable changes in hair texture, density, and face structure. For comparison, by the age of 70, most women have roughly 30% less hair density than they did at 35. Styling approaches must adapt to these developments rather than resist them. Before we go into specific hairstyles, one final issue to consider. Harsh, angular forms provide shadows that might highlight rather than conceal signs of age. Softer lines reflect light more flatteringly. Therefore, we'll talk about transition choices that combine softness without appearing out of date. With this foundational understanding of how and why hair changes over time, let's look at the first specific hairstyle that could be aging your appearance. Let's talk about the first haircut that could be aging you, the dated bob, as stylists call it. You probably identify it right away. This is a perfectly even, finely formed bob that sits at or just below the chin. It often has minimal layers, a consistent length throughout, and side-swept bangs that haven't changed in decades. It is commonly used with a fixed styling procedure that ensures the hair looks the same day after day. The features include a circular shape that curves under equally, a lack of roughness or movement, and an often blunt perimeter line. Many ladies have worn this same style for 20 to 30 years, with only minimal modifications. Now, let's look at why this particular style may be aging. First, these hard, structured lines cast harsh shadows across the face. As facial shapes inevitably vary with age, this harsh style emphasizes rather than softens these changes. Second, this style frequently directs attention to the neck and jawline areas, where many women show evident signs of aging. The blunt end at the exact chin or mid-neck length provides a visual line that highlights these locations. Third, keeping this perfect form usually necessitates extensive product use, including hairsprays, mousses, and serums, which can make hair appear stiffer and more fake. According to the Research Journal of Cosmetic Science, product buildup has a significant impact on aging hair, making it appear duller and more brittle. Finally, consider the psychological consequences. This specific bob became very trendy in the 1980s and early 1990s. When a style is closely identified with a given era, wearing it in the same way might date one's overall appearance. But here's some good news. The bob itself is not the issue. In fact, bob-length hair can be really flattering on women over 60. The problem is with this particular obsolete version of the bob. Let's take a look at how minor changes might create a modern, pleasing alternative. First, introduce minor layers. Not enough to achieve a shaggy appearance, but enough to give movement and decrease the helmet-like aspect. These flexible internal layers save weight while maintaining length. Second, soften the perimeter line. Instead of making a blunt line, we point cut or texturize the ends to remove the hard edge that attracts attention to the jawline. Third, try face framing layers that begin slightly higher on the cheekbones. This focuses attention on the eyes and creates a softer framing around the face. Fourth, create a minor asymmetry. Perhaps leave the front slightly longer than the rear to create a graduated or angled bob, as stylists refer to it. This modern version is just as easy to style, but it appears much more current. These modernized bobs enhance rather than compete with face traits. They allow for mobility, which communicates vitality and energy rather than rigidity. Maintenance also becomes simpler. These new interpretations necessitate fewer products and less exact styling. Many can be air-dried with only a small quantity of lightweight mousse or texturizing spray. If you've been wearing the classic bob for years, show your stylist photographs of these current styles. The shift does not have to be dramatic. Even minor alterations to your current haircut can make a significant difference. Check out these transformations. In each case, we kept the same length but updated the shape and texture. The outcomes speak for themselves. The same women appear more lively and current without any significant changes. Remember that a superb haircut should do the job for you rather than make you work more with complicated styling procedures. These modernized bobs can be fashioned in less than 5 minutes, move naturally throughout the day, and flatter your features as they are today, not decades ago. Now that we've covered the dated bob, let's move on to the second aging haircut. The excessively dark, single-process color may be generating an unpleasant contrast against your skin. The second hairstyle that usually adds years to one's appearance is what color experts call overly dark, single-process color. This is a flat, one-dimensional hair color that is typically darker than one's natural hue and is applied uniformly from root to tip with no variance. You've most likely seen it, a deep brown or black that has been meticulously preserved for years, if not decades. Typically, it's the same color the person wore in their 30s or 40s, applied meticulously every 4 to 6 weeks to conceal gray. Let's look at why this particular coloring technique can be aging. First and foremost, because skin typically loses pigmentation with age, having harsh, dark hair creates an unnatural contrast. According to a study published in the Cosmetic Dermatology Journal, this extreme contrast attracts attention to textural changes in the skin and can enhance rather than reduce fine wrinkles. In these examples, the harsh black tone generates shadows that highlight facial characteristics in unflattering ways. The attention is drawn to the contrast rather than the individual's features. Second, the maintenance cycle becomes more demanding. Gray roots against a black base form a sharp, distinct line of demarcation. This means more frequent salon appointments or longer durations of visible roots. Third, continuous use of dark permanent color can cause buildup and damage, resulting in dull, lifeless hair that absorbs light rather than reflecting it. Hair naturally grows drier with aging. Adding chemical treatments to further remove moisture exacerbates the problem. Finally, there is the question of genuineness. Natural hair color usually lightens and softens with age, even before gray shows. A 70-year-old wearing the same dark hue as they did at 35 creates a disconnect that can appear artificial rather than youthful. Let's have a look at some potentially transformative alternatives. First, consider switching to dimensional color. This approach uses many tones instead of a single flat hue. The introduction of highlights and lowlights, even subtle ones, gives the hair movement and reflection. Light is bounced throughout the style rather than absorbed, resulting in a natural luminosity that is instantly more attractive. Second, consider reducing the overall color intensity. Hair color specialists recommend going 1 to 2 shades lighter than in previous decades. For someone who has always worn dark brown, a medium or light brown strikes a better balance with changing skin tones. Look at the transformation. The transition from a flat, dark brown to a softer medium brown with caramel highlights instantly brightens the skin and minimizes the look of exhaustion. Nothing else has changed, not the cosmetics or the haircut, only the color scheme. Third, explore contemporary gray blending approaches. Rather than fully concealing gray, these methods blend natural gray into the color scheme using techniques like balayage, subtle highlighting, or dim lighting. The ultimate product looks more natural and requires significantly less upkeep, extending the time between salon visits from 3 to 4 weeks to 8 to 12 weeks in many situations. Transition tactics can help women embrace their natural grays in an elegant, rather than unpleasant way. Colorists can design unique layouts that gradually add gray while preserving a professional appearance throughout. These women all went from dark, single-process color to their natural silver or white. Take note of how the brightened look highlights their features and gives them a more current aspect. Color psychology research suggests that softer, multidimensional hair color conveys life and health. The light reflection caused by the various tones adds luminosity to the face. When speaking with a colorist about changing from a too dark, single-process color, bring reference images of dimensional color on ladies your age. Prepare for a slow shift to a natural look. Dimensional color after years of dark covering may necessitate multiple applications. Nonetheless, the investment is rewarding. A carefully planned color approach can simplify maintenance, increase hair health, and create a far more appealing frame for your current characteristics. Now that we've covered color, let's move on to our third aging hairstyle, the ultra-short old lady cut, which may be chosen for ease but often sacrifices style. This is often distinguished by very short, uniform-length hair, frequently with tight curls, made using classic perming methods. This style became popular decades ago as a practical answer, and its longevity is unsurprising. After all, it takes little styling effort and appears to be low maintenance. Take note of the defining qualities. Extremely short length, usually less than 2 inches all across. A spherical, helmet-like shape, usually with tightly curled texture that does not move organically. and a consistent length with no customization for face shape or characteristics. Let's look at why this particular style may be aging. First, there is the institutional association. This standardized cut became popular in healthcare settings and retirement communities because it served as a one-size-fits-all approach to hair management. As a result, it is strongly associated with advanced age and institutional care, rather than personal style. Second, extremely short cuts with no deliberate shaping tend to highlight rather than flatter shifting face characteristics. Without the softening effect that strategic length provides, facial asymmetries become more noticeable. Third, consider the issue of homogeneity. When the same cut is used regardless of facial shape, hair texture, or personal style, it indicates a loss of originality. According to the Journal of Aging Studies, keeping personal style choices has a substantial impact on good self-perception in later life. Fourth, the typical perming procedures commonly utilized with this cut can damage already fragile hair, resulting in a dry, frizzy texture that absorbs rather than reflects light. The good news is that having short hair isn't the problem. In fact, shorter designs can be both appealing and practical for ladies over the age of 60. The problem is with this specific, antiquated approach to short hair. Let's look at the choices that make all the difference. First, consider a modern pixie cut. Unlike the consistent old lady cut, a contemporary pixie has purposeful length changes, such as slightly longer on top with shorter sides or face framing pieces, to soften the image. By including these tiny length variances, the style instantly gets individuality and intentionality. It appears to be chosen rather than resigned to. Look at the transformation. The same woman, comparable length, but the carefully trimmed pixie exudes personality and style that the uniform cut lacks. Second, consider the texture and flow. Modern shortcuts include texturizing procedures that allow the hair to move naturally rather than sitting in a static, immobile position. These haircuts complement your natural hair texture rather than forcing an artificial curl pattern. They require little styling product, typically only a small amount of lightweight texturing cream or spray. Third, personalization is essential. A good stylist would consider face form, features, neck length, and even ear placement while creating a shortcut. This tailored approach guarantees that the look flatters rather than standardizes. Even with very short hair, there is a tremendous amount of variety. These women all have practical and low-maintenance cuts, but each style is tailored to complement specific features. Check out these transformations. Each preceding example demonstrates the standardized uniform shortcut. Each subsequent example depicts a tailored modern short style of comparable length. The difference is noticeable, not in terms of youthful appearance, but in expressing confidence, style, and personality. When meeting with a stylist to discuss upgrading a very short cut, bring reference photographs of recent short styles. Mention particular issues such as cowlicks, thinning spots, or texture changes, as these will influence the tailored treatment. For ladies experiencing considerable thinning, specific methods such as selective texturizing and directional styling can give the appearance of more density. Modern shortcuts usually require little daily styling, frequently only finger styling with a small quantity of product. The main difference is in the cut itself, not in the elaborate styling techniques. Remember that hair should reflect personality at all ages. A well-designed shortcut exudes confidence and style consciousness, conveying a message of continuing engagement rather than resignation. Now that we've covered the 3 aging hairstyles and their alternatives, let's look at the practical aspect. How can you keep these more appealing looks without spending hours in front of the mirror or money at the salon? First, let's discuss tools. As hair thins and becomes more fragile with age, plastic brushes with knobs on the end can be too abrasive. Instead, choose a brush with natural boar bristles or a combination of natural and synthetic bristles. These circulate your scalp's natural oils throughout your hair, resulting in less breakage. Brushing technique is very important. Start at the ends and work your way up gently, rather than pulling from root to tip. This relieves tension on brittle strands. When it comes to older hair, less is more in terms of product use. Heavy styling products that worked well in your 40s might weigh down finer hair, making it appear flat and lifeless. Look for products branded volumizing or for fine hair, even if you don't consider your hair to be extremely fine. Check the ingredients carefully. Avoid products that feature heavy silicones as the first 5 components, such as dimethicone or cyclomethicone. While they help hair seem smooth immediately, they accumulate over time and can make senior hair appear drab and weighted down. Remember this rule. Begin with far less product than you think you'll need. You can always apply more, but removing excess product frequently requires starting over. If you're using a blow dryer, curling iron, or flat iron, always use the lowest heat setting. Mature hair is more susceptible to heat damage, and excessive heat can degrade the proteins that give your hair strength and flexibility. When blow drying your hair, keep the dryer at least 6 inches away and continually moving. Better still, air dry your hair until it's around 80% dry before finishing with a dryer to reduce heat exposure. How often should you change your style? For trims, every 6 to 8 weeks is great for keeping shape, especially for shorter types. Color depends on your gray percentage and method, but most women find that 4 to 6 weeks is plenty for root touch-ups. If you chose modest lights or highlights to complement your gray rather than totally hiding it, you may be able to go 8 to 10 weeks between sessions. Here are 5 key questions to ask your hairdresser at your next session. 1. What cut would provide the maximum volume for my existing hair texture? 2. How can we work with, rather than against, my innate abilities and growth patterns? 3. What is the lowest maintenance color scheme that will yet give me a fresh look? 4. Could you please show me how to style this at home in under 5 minutes? 5. What are the 2 most significant products for this style, and how should I utilize them? Now for some cost-effective solutions. First, instead of fighting your natural texture, consider shifting to a cut that complements it. This immediately minimizes styling time and product requirements. Second, dimensional treatments like balayage, which mix with your natural color, require fewer touch-ups than all-over color. A simple yet effective hair care routine could look like this. 2 washes each week with a light sulfate-free solution, followed by conditioning to focus on the ends. A weekly moisturizing mask applied for 20 minutes, with heat styling confined to special occasions or once a week. Use a high-quality dry shampoo to refresh between washes. Remember, the ultimate goal is to improve your appearance while staying within your time and budget. The most beautiful hairdo in the world isn't worth it if it takes 45 minutes to style every morning or costs too much money in terms of products or salon appointments. With the appropriate cut and color foundation, daily styling should take no more than 5 to 10 minutes. If your present routine takes longer, it's possible that your haircut isn't suited to your natural texture and density. As we conclude today's examination of aging hairstyles and alternatives, keep in mind that the appropriate hairstyle should seem effortless, both in terms of appearance and functionality. As we discussed today, 3 prevalent haircuts that may be adding years to your appearance are the dated bob with its inflexible structure, the flat, overly dark single-process colors, and the very short convenience cut that lacks personality and movement. What is the good news? Small tweaks can make a significant difference. Whether it's adding soft layers to generate movement, embracing dimension in your color, or just updating a short style with modern textures, these changes can completely impact how you appear and feel. Remember that beauty evolves with age, rather than diminishing. Your hairstyle should also develop, honoring the woman you are today rather than attempting to recreate who you were decades ago. I encourage you to take a fresh look at your hair. Consider whether your present style genuinely serves the face you have today, rather than the face you had when you initially adopted that style. You deserve a look that reflects who you are. Thank you for spending time with me today. I'd love to hear about your hair makeovers in the comments section. Until next time, remember that the most beautiful style is one that makes you feel confident whenever you see your reflection.